So now we're going to move on to an actual deadlift. My favorite tool for teaching deadlifts to beginners are kettlebells. It's way less complicated than a barbell. It's a disaster trying to start with a barbell. There are too many things going on. A kettlebell, we can get pretty heavy. At our gym, we have up to 32 kilos on a 32 kilo kettlebell, so we can get pretty heavy with it. And it just gives us an opportunity to drill in that range of motion, and that movement pattern without barbells getting in the way of knees and things like that. And if you don't know what that means, don't worry, you'll understand in the next and final video of this series. So I've got here 8 kilo kettlebell. It's not particularly heavy for most people, although some people may need, I have a 4 kilo kettlebell and I may drill that in with a lot of my mums and in the beginning. Just to give them a chance to practice that movement pattern without making them too sore, just to give them confidence with the movement before moving on to any kind of anything heavier, and I'll never surprise them with the weight. But for most people, 8 kilos is not going to be much of an issue at all. This is where we start actually doing a deadlift. Just a few things about a deadlift. I see a lot of people really butchering the deadlift and doing a really crappy job and just getting totally confused about what they're actually doing. A few things that, what I'm going to teach you now is a conventional deadlift. Okay, there are different variations. This isn't a Romanian deadlift, it's not a straight leg deadlift, it's not a lot of other things. It's not sumo deadlift. This is a conventional deadlift with a kettlebell. A couple of the mistakes I see are people doing some kind of squat where they're kind of trying to do this kind of thing. That's not a deadlift. That's a kind of butchered squat. I also see a lot of people kind of standing up with the weight and then just kind of doing this kind of thing, just hanging out, not touching the floor. That's also not a deadlift. And a squat starts up high, comes down, and then back up. A deadlift, we start with a dead weight on the floor, we lift it up and we put it back down again. That's a deadlift. That's the start and the end point of the deadlift. You haven't finished the deadlift until you put it back down on the floor. Couple of other things. No, we'll talk about how it's different to a squat afterwards. So this is what a deadlift looks like. I want to stand with a kettlebell in between my feet. I want my feet parallel, facing forwards, just wider than the kettlebell, so I've got enough room to grab hold of it with my hands. I'm going to send my bum back, same way that I did with the good morning, with the stick on my back. My knees don't creep too far forwards, they will do a little bit. Then I'm going to grab the kettlebell with both of my hands. I like to teach it like this, so if you watch from the front, there's enough room. My knees again are tracking out over my toes are parallel, and my hands are in between my knees. From the side, I like to teach it like this, that I'm making a triangle with my hands, my back, and my knees. You don't want to break that triangle. So if you let your knees creep too far forward, you come into some kind of squat and you break the triangle. If you bring your bum up too high, again, you break the triangle. So you want to connect your knees to your forearms and create a nice triangle there. Couple of other pointers, shoulders. People tend to like to round their upper back or let their shoulders kind of fall forward with the weight. You want to really encourage people to pull their shoulders back and down, and this is again where we come back to our cat-cow. Stick your bum out, straighten your spine. So when people are rounding their back, we can say, you're rounding your back. This is terminology that we've already used and established in the cat-cow. Now stick your bum out, straighten your back. And then we've got our nice triangle set up. Notice my bum is below my shoulders. It's not at the same height, it's just below my shoulders. From here, and my shoulders are back and down. I don't want to hunch my shoulders up or round my upper back. Shoulders back and down. We're protracting and depressing, we're retracting and depressing the shoulder blades. From here, I'm going to stand up, fully extend, and then put the kettlebell back down. What we're not doing is this. A few mistakes we see, or the kettlebell kind of creeping away. We want to put it back down in between our feet every single time. And if we accidentally go too far forward, just make that triangle again. I'm going to do it at a slightly different angle. Back's totally straight. And when I've done my final rep, I'm not done until I've put that kettlebell back down. Now I can let go. One final thing about this, people tend to like to yank the kettlebell up, so that especially as it starts getting heavier and they kind of want to get some momentum going, so they kind of lose some tension in their shoulders and then pull the bar up and get that little yank, that little kind of tug, which isn't great. We want to kind of pull up into the kettlebell, put our shoulders back and down, get tension in our arms, stand all the way up, and then smoothly pull the kettlebell off the floor rather than kind of yanking it. Just did exactly what I told you guys not to. Remember, put the kettlebell back down. And that's kettlebell deadlift. If you don't have a kettlebell, you can do it with dumbbells. Obviously this is just a kilo, but same thing applies. I mean, you can do this with like a 40 kilo dumbbell. It doesn't matter. But this is a really nice way of drilling in the movement. Our kettlebells go up in 2 kilo increments. So you just go up to 10 kilos from here, then 12 kilos, then 16, so on and so forth, until you get to the heavier weights. And once you've really drilled in that movement pattern, I like to really drill in that movement pattern over a number of weeks, and really get that really comfortable, get people really confident lifting heavier and heavier weights before I move on to a barbell, which will be in our next and final installment.